Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Beyond Tech podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. He was director of innovation and PayPal for like more than ten years, and he is someone who is very creative, who is looking always for the future. We have with us today Mike. Welcome, Mike, to Beyond Tech.
Zim,
As
thanks for
usual,
having me. I'm excited about it.
yeah, thank you. So, as usual, I will let Mike introduce himself for people who don't know him, and then we can continue with our discussion as usual. It's
Love
all
it.
yours, Mike.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Name is Mike Todasco. Good to be here. And my background is a little bit weird and interesting, as I guess as everyone's. I started my career as an accountant way back in the day. I was working for GE, which at the time was the most valuable company in the world, which is crazy.
Nice.
It ain't anymore, but that shows you how old I am. And I worked there as an accountant. I moved to a different company, did strategy, environmental strategy, things like that. Left to get an MBA. After that, started my own company. Kind of failed on most aspects of that, but it was an amazing experience.
Sure.
Um, and that failure set me up to work at PayPal, in fact, where I was at for 11
Nice.
years. The first half was in products, and I have many stories to tell from that. The last half was running the innovation group at PayPal. And I left there in 2022, where I was just frankly very excited and passionate about what was emerging in artificial intelligence. And for me, a non-engineer, it was such an exciting time because I finally got to be able to play and use these tools. And so right now I'm at a university where I teach, I write, I do many things in the world of AI.
Yeah, thank you so much for this amazing introduction. Like, I'm very, very happy to have you here today. So, I'm having a lot of questions, a lot of things that I would like to ask about because for me, like, innovation is something that I always think about and creativity. They are, for me, they are like linked together. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, when you say like innovation or creativity, we don't know, like, okay, we can't imagine it even, because most of our work as a software engineer is like to solve the problems. And also
Mhm.
for other people who are in other professions, they work within a set of rules. But when we say innovation or creativity, it's something that we cannot touch, like you cannot do boundaries around it or
Yeah.
say, okay, this is innovation. So can you tell us about like, okay, I mean, how can you define innovation from your perspective? How you decide if someone is an innovative or not, and how you think about solutions from innovative mind.
Yeah. So I love this question because I've thought about it a lot. One of the things that I did when I was running the innovation group at PayPal, I was based at our headquarters in Silicon Valley here. And I had the opportunity to kind of meet with like all new employees that were coming through. And so I got to kind of do a 30-minute innovation pitch. And it was all backgrounds. It was software engineers, it was designers,
Yeah.
but it was also accountants and lawyers and all these different functions and backgrounds. And one of the things that I actually never did in those discussions, despite talking about how important innovation was I never once defined what innovation meant. And there was a reason why. This was kind of a struggle I had in the beginning. And I got to the point where I'm like, we're not going to define what innovation is for you. It's going to mean something. It's going to mean something different to each and every one of you. Uh, so why did I do that? Because again, like there were so many different backgrounds, and we wanted everybody in our company to be innovative. We had this history of innovation. We would give examples of what innovation could be and what innovation had been at the company, and we actually would have them do these projects. In fact, to kind of spur that. But we didn't want to limit people in that
Okay.
because as a species, because this gets into your other part of your question, like who is innovative, who is not, we are all innovative as a species. This is how human beings got to where we are at today. This is how we got to build,
Yeah.
buildings that are thousands of meters in the air and do all the things that we have and we have created as our society because just by our nature, we are innovative. It's the structure that is around us The necessity, often that is what inspires the innovation. So, we literally had a tagline within PayPal that was everyone, I'm going to have to make sure I remember it exactly. It was everyone is innovative. Or no, everyone can innovate. That was what the tagline was.
Everyone can.
In a few
Nice.
years, I forgot what it was. But everyone can innovate. And that's what we would tell people. And again, it didn't matter what your background was, but it was always finding a better solution, always finding a more creative solution, always kind of questioning things like, is this the best way to do things? Just because you've done something the exact same way for the last 24 months doesn't mean the 25th month you should also follow that process. So it's kind of building the structures around that is a lot of what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice and very cool, actually. But my question, okay, you answered my question, but there is still a part that I'm missing here, Like,
Mhm.
okay, you have a team, you were director of innovation and you choose people, Okay, how were you able to choose your team? Like, okay, this guy, I can have him or her in my team because I see something in her or in him. Like, how to see this, like, uh, aspiration or this how to say the thing inside people, how to decide, okay, this I need him in my team, he looks like an innovative guy.
Yeah. This is, I really love the direction we're going because actually I'm going to double down on what I said before, but I'm going to give you a very specific example. Um, so I really do believe that everyone has this in them. I do. And
Okay.
it's just,
Yeah.
and again, my response, this is even before I had the innovation job. I think it's one of the reasons I got the innovation job at PayPal. I was leading it was called product launch function. It's kind of a hybrid between product managers and PMO, project management. So it's kind of a weird in between. And frankly, one of the things I wanted to instill in my team, and it was like 10, 11 people I had, something like that, um, was they need to be innovative. They need to be creative in these jobs. And I wanted to instill that with them. And I remember when I first met with the team, some were people I brought in, some were people I inherited. I asked every single one of them within the first week, do you find yourself to be a creative person? And about half the people said yes, half the people said no. And it was my job to actually find that within each and every one of them. So one of the things I did was I had a weekly staff meeting, and it was Monday morning, something like that. And on Mondays, when we were just kind of starting our work week here in the US, I would then ask them, I would cold call on somebody, in fact. So, 11 people in there, and I would basically say, hey, person number 3, tell me something innovative you've done in the last week. And I would literally start my meetings with that. So here's what that did. What that did was that would basically, first of all, it got them to hate me in the beginning because nobody likes being put on the spot,
Sure.
especially the people that don't think of themselves as being innovative. They're like, oh my gosh, like this is the meanest boss in the world. But what it actually did was two things. One, it got them constantly thinking about, well, if Mike calls on me this week, am I doing something innovative? What is it that I'm doing that's innovative? They were looking for that in themselves. And two, they were hearing from their peers around that. And not all the solutions were these amazing, whatever. It was sometimes simple stuff. And again, it was either personally or professionally. I would have them talk about it. So one person talked about how he cut through the airport, which is right by the PayPal headquarters, to get to work that morning. I'm like, you cut through it was one of these crazy solutions. I'm like, oh my gosh, that could actually work. I've never thought of that before. Another
Yeah.
person talked about a solution, a super creative solution about how they basically bribe somebody with food to start coming to
Okay.
meetings when they weren't showing up to meetings. And they did it in a
Okay.
very
Okay.
subtle way to do that. They found out what their favorite food was and put that in the invite, and lo and behold, that person started showing up.
I like this one. I like this one.
Yeah. And it was these kind of things. And like, those are little innovations. They're ways that you're being creative. So, to get back to the question, like, how do you like find somebody who is innovative versus somebody who is not innovative? Like, I believe in the deepest parts of my heart that like, if this person is a living and breathing human being, they have a hell of a lot of innovation in them. And it's our responsibility as managers, as leaders, within a company or whatever kind of entity it is that we run, to bring those out of the people that work for you.
Y- Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, yeah, I completely agree, and I like your answer here. Like, I also always remind myself of Robert Greene's quote when he said that in one of the podcasts, he said that people, I believe that we are, as a human, we are unique. Our DNA, each one of us have a DNA that have never come before and will never be in the future. So, without doing anything, you are unique in this universe.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, you have to be proud of that. I totally agree. Totally agree. I just wanted to ask because I know that like in a company like PayPal, it's a very, very big company, a huge company. And
Yeah.
when we speak about innovation, like a lot of ideas, like a million idea comes to my mind, and I'm asking myself, oh my God, if I were in your shoes, like what could I do? Like I have, let's say, 10 ideas, 100 ideas, how to choose between them because every idea can have a huge impact on customers because we have like, it's a company, it's $1 billion company or more. So you get my
Yeah.
point here?
I mean, two thoughts on that. One, we had a bit of an experimentation process. There's a process of talking to customers, process by ideation and implementing stuff, and we could get into that. So, there is a process. If you have 10 ideas, well, how is it that you actually solve that? One great resource I would actually suggest for people is something that Adobe actually created and then open source. It's called Kickbox.
Hmm.
Kick is in like kicking a football, and
Yeah,
box is in
it's
box.
box. Yeah, yeah.
And just go to kickbox.org, and anybody can download it. It's totally free. It's a way to kind of learn an innovation process. And it starts with lots of ideas. And once you have
Nice.
a lot of ideas, how do you filter? How do you do that? I would actually teach that, in fact, at PayPal. Kind of, we made our own version of that. And I would teach that. But that's something anybody can use out there and use with their own teams, or frankly, even just go through it themselves. So there's a lot of different, that was just one way we came up with innovations. One other thing I do want to emphasize, because I want to bring this back to reality, because when I was at PayPal, there were, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 employees there or something. And a lot of what I did was building the culture of innovation. And it didn't necessarily mean that every single one of those 20,000 people were like working on robot projects and other things that were like well outside of, like, I don't want to convey that. There were people working on robots that
Yeah,
were
yeah.
completely outside of their regular day jobs at PayPal. We did have that. But what we actually tried to do was, while we did believe we had a culture of innovation for everyone, we did also have, for the people who really do want to go above and beyond, and with some, I think in some ways that is like who you're referring to here, like who are those people
Yes.
that go above and beyond?
Yes.
We enabled them to do kind of whatever they wanted. So, just talking about robots, we had innovation labs kind of all over the globe. I think I bought like half a dozen of these robots
Wow.
that were, you could program them using ROS, which was a fairly intuitive programming language, and build different things. And the one in San Jose was being managed by somebody on the finance team. And that person would just come into the office early, probably, they would literally be in the innovation lab like 2 hours before I would. They would be hacking away, they'd be building stuff, they'd be leading a team, whatever, and then they go do their finance job a couple hours later and all that. But that was just one way to bring out like the innovative spirit in the company, by just having these things available, by having the sort of resources and empowering employees, no matter what their background was, to work on any one of these projects. That is a way, like, well, I do believe everyone is a true innovator. I think maybe what you're getting at is, well, there are those kind of special types, and we did have structures in place to really identify and frankly have those people self-select and raise their hand and say like, oh my God, that sounds so cool, I want to work on that. And those people
Yeah.
would come and they would build and work on some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I understand you now, and I truly believe that everyone have a unique story to tell. Everyone
Yeah.
have something special. If we just find the spark in the person, we can like have everything getting out of him. And yeah, thank you so much for mentioning like kickbox. I believe this will be very helpful for a lot of people I know. Many people I know are starting like small projects and they want to think about like how to innovate in this project, how to produce something new and unique at the same time. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I think I'm having a lot of questions, like, okay, I would like to ask about how were you able to create this culture of innovation, in your environment. Let's say that for me, like in a normal job, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm whatever. I go to my work in any mode, it's okay. If I'm sad today, it's okay. I can, like do coding or whatever while I'm sad. If I'm happy, I can do both in both cases. Yeah, sometimes your emotions affect your job, but in an innovative and creative domain, I believe that it would be very hard to think about, innovation and creativity
Yeah.
in those specific hard days. So how are you able to ensure that, okay, my team is having the best culture they can have, to innovate, to level up without having stress or like any bad mood or something like that?
Yeah. And are you talking about when I had like a smaller team to manage, or are you talking about like kind of managing the company culture as a whole? Because
No,
it's
I
a
mean, I
little
mean,
bit.
we can speak about the smallest team and then we can go up
Okay.
to the
Yeah.
the higher one.
Yeah. I mean, it's much harder to do that for a whole company of 20,000 people when they don't all like report into me,
Sure, sure,
obviously.
sure.
It's much harder at that. But, when you have your own team, this comes down to, so I actually used to teach leadership class.
Okay.
And one of the things in my leadership class that I would teach, I taught this both like at a university and I've taught it at PayPal as well, is that everyone has their own leadership style. Everybody's style is a little bit different. And like I tried to expose the students to all these different styles and never tried to say like, well, this is the one that works. This is the one that you should have. Like you need to find the one that matches for you. But, in creating that culture of innovation, like I think a lot of it, to me, I would always kind of focus a little bit more on servant leadership. Like I was there to serve my team. My team, like whatever they needed, like I was there to remove barriers for them, to enable them to be successful. So like that was always my focus. And there were certain things like innovation and creativity, which I think would help them be successful in their jobs. And they were because of that. And so I think it was a natural fit to be able to do that. But then with innovation, with creativity, like comes a heck of a lot of failures. And I think your job as a manager in those types of environments is to support your teams. Like as long as the intent was right, the outcome is not what matters. Annie Duke, she's a professor and former poker player, and she talks a lot about this in her writings. I think too often in the business world, we're focused on the outcomes and not as focused on all the things that lead up to it. Because look, there are many things that can change an outcome, macroeconomic factors, and many other things that are outside of your control.
Yes.
What really matters is all the things that you do leading up to that. And those are the things that are actually within your control. Whether the economy grows at 3% or declines at 3%, you have no impact on that in your job. So it's focusing on the things that you can actually manage. So within those environments, again, embracing failure for your team and like supporting them and defending the people on your team when they ultimately do fail in trying new things, and showcasing that. And frankly, as a leader, even showing ways that you failed yourself. I think that's important, to be humble in many ways, to show that like I don't have all the answers. You will have all the you have many more answers than I do. Like people on the teams that I would have, like those would all be like the kind of habits and things that I would try to instill in my teams to make them comfortable with being innovative. If anybody is concerned, like, oh gosh, I'm going to get fired if I screw this thing up or whatever it's going to be, there ain't going to be innovative. Like there's no
Yeah,
way in a culture like that you
I agree.
could encourage innovation. And the other thing to make clear with this, like we were working with people's money. So there are a lot of restrictions in the nearly 200 countries around the globe that PayPal has a presence in. So it's not like in our environment we could do whatever we want with no recourse. Because a lot of people will say, like, well, I work in a hospital, I work in this, I can't be innovative. But like, no, that's not true. Like you could be innovative in all environments. You have to understand and embrace the constraints that are within those environments, for the safety of the customer, however you might define that. But there are always ways to be innovative. And again, you as manager, number one thing, you got to protect your employees and make sure that they know it's okay to make mistakes.
So yeah, I believe also in simplicity. Like I believe that creativity and innovation goes side by side with simplicity, you know. And it's the hardest thing to do in anything is to make it simple and not
Yeah.
overcomplicate it. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And let me ask you a hard question, okay? But I like it actually. I like Mike. After all these years working in innovation, do you believe more in structured innovation or in organic or original innovation inside the people? I mean, do you believe that you can make someone innovative by uh, training him or her, and by time he will become innovative, or you believe more in like pure innovation that someone is innovative or creative by default, you know, without doing anything to him or her?
Oh, I believe that structured innovation, teaching people the tools to do this is 100%. Let me give a more recent example that I've experienced. So one of the things that I actually started doing while I was at PayPal and I continue to do outside is I'm actually pursuing a writing degree. So this is outside. I'm getting an MFA in writing, and I've been doing that for the last like 4 years now. Doing
Nice.
just something I love, and it's just a new challenge for me. The last class I took was on humor writing. That's nothing like I've never done that before, like humor writing,
Okay.
anything like that. So actually writing short pieces to try and get people to laugh. By that nature, I think most people would say, well, it's creative, it's innovative, whatever words you want to do, like writing, humor writing is doing that. But even in humor writing, there's a bit of a formula to it. There's a
Yeah.
process. And the process starts with like just frankly having a bunch of ideas. This is the exact same thing if I was like thinking of something, a new product idea, or we're trying to file a patent or something, or we're trying to write a funny article. You start with a whole bunch of ideas and you just kind of work through the process. One of the things and so I've had 3 things published now in humor publications, and I never did before this class, but I just learned the steps and I learned the process as part of it. And yeah, anybody can do that. It really is, but it's part of it is just doing the work for it. When I would write the first article, like the hardest thing about writing is not, it's rewriting, because to write well, you have to write again and again and again and look back over a few days and be your own worst critic and all that. But these are things you can teach people. It's in every single one of us. I believe
I,
anybody can be a humor writer. I believe anybody can be an innovator.
I really like your answer in this. I really, really like. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I also, this also like brought to my mind the idea that people think that because someone like an actor is comedian, you know, in movies, he is comedian in real life. You know, he's funny, and sometimes you find that the most comedian like actor or actress in history, like okay, they were in a miserable life. You know, those
Yeah.
people were having a miserable life, and you okay how people start to say think how, but this is one of the biases that our mind, you know, tell us, oh yeah, to be innovative, you need to be born with innovative mind, with creative mind. We always miss this part where we need to someone to tell us, no, you can be a good you can be good in this, you can be good in that, and this is by practice. Everything comes by practice, and our
Yeah.
mind always says, yeah.
Absolutely, and to use an American comedian example, which I used to always love to bring up. So there's a comedian, Jerry Seinfeld, probably had the most popular show in the United States in the 1990s, and still popular today on streaming services. Um, there's a documentary about him, and one of the things that you see is he will actually write jokes every single day of his life, and he actually keeps a calendar. And it like basically he X's out the days when he does his joke time. And the guy's 70 years old now or whatever. Like, I mean, he's just been doing this stuff forever. And even for somebody who's been doing this for 40 years, it's a discipline that you still have to go through. We see the finished product when he gets on stage, does 60 minutes, we all laugh, but we don't see, oh, to get to that tight 60 minutes came thousands of bad jokes, thousands of bad ideas,
Yes.
ripping on those jokes again and again and again until he's finally able to hone it.
Consistency and
That's right.
discipline always work in any field, actually, in software, in innovation, in any field. And I try to tell, especially people who are younger than me, like, please do consistent stuff, like do planning, work on the plan each day. Having a plan and missing it is way better than having no plans. You know what I mean? Like, you can
Absolutely.
adapt your plan. You can adapt your plan. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that. And we will have your writings in the descriptions for people. I
Oh,
will
I'll share
reach out
them.
to you. Yeah, sure, sure,
I
sure.
don't know if people find
I'll
them
wait for you.
funny, but the editors found them funny where I published them. But like, what
Okay.
you
No, no,
all
no.
do?
I will read them for sure. I will read them. So yeah, I also see that you have an eye on like the future for AI. How do you see the future in the new AI era, like ChatGPT, Claude, robots, and everything? I mean, I saw some stuff that you are interested in this line, so some talks that you were mentioning this. So I would like to see like your insights, your vision about the future after having these tools, the platform, whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, how I would summarize this at a high level, and we could dive deeper into any specific area you want. So, like, I was
Okay.
at University of Illinois. I started there in 1995. I had never been on the internet before I started college. And I was lucky enough to go to a school where just a few years before, Mark Andreessen and the Netscape team had to make the first browser. And
Okay.
like when I got to school, everything's online. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like I never used a computer that was networked before, and where I would go to a computer lab because that's what they had at the time, and I would be able to click on these magical blue links, which would take me to other pages and all this other kind of stuff, and it was just incredible. And that was something that I felt like I was living in a different world. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it because when I went home over the holidays later that year and talked to my other high school friends who were not at that college, they're like, "What are you talking about? Like what?" And I'm like, "No, this is amazing. Like it's going to change things. You could do all this. You could," and like it was clearly seeing the future. Fast forward to where we're at today, and I mean, my first experiences in what we now call generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these tools, like
Mhm.
this is even more impactful than what we saw with the internet. I mean, the
Yes.
ability, what we have at our fingertips, like we don't even fathom as a society yet. Like I spend time with these tools all the time. I'm constantly finding new ways to use them, and even I don't fully grasp everything that these things are capable of. I feel like, we are just starting to see as a society how this is going to change everything, but it is. It is currently changing everything. This is, and I'm not saying there isn't going to be like an AI downfall or anything. There was an internet downfall as well. I mean, there was this big
Yes.
lull,
Yes.
like, oh, the internet's not going to do anything. Like, we might see that in AI as well, but look, like 3, 4, 5 years from now, this is changing everything. I mean, one of the best examples I have out there is like I have a Tesla. I have driven in Waymos before. Like driverless cars are here. Like they
Yeah.
are just not everyone has experienced them yet. And that is just one of very many ways that like AI is impacting our lives in the world and like going to completely transform what this next decade is going to look like.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I just struggle to. I'm trying to, like do time transfer. Like I move myself from the current time to the future, and I cannot imagine it. I mean, I can. I could do this like 5 years ago because you can see, oh, this framework or this language may be better for the future. But right now, with this like lightning pace of evolution of AI. No one can see the future, like, because you go to your bed today and in the morning you found, oh, there is a new tool, there's a new platform that is
Yeah.
like just launched, and we don't know how it will be. Like, I cannot even imagine what will be the profession of my daughter in the future. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, and look, I talk to a lot of students, and a lot of students are really freaked out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do for jobs and so forth?" Because, frankly, a lot of these tools are doing. Like, I haven't seen data around this, and I'd be very curious. Like, I'd be willing to bet there's less companies hiring interns now, or there will be in the very near future because the AIs are effectively doing the work of interns or people who are just starting within the jobs and occupations that are out there, and this is freaking out a lot of students at schools. This just absolutely is.
Yeah.
And the one
Mm.
thing that I can tell people is, if you're an engineer or studying engineering, software engineering in school, just to use that as an example, learning a coding language is not what is going to matter in the future. But being able to think through a problem like an engineer is still a differentiating factor.
Amazing.
Being
I
able
mean,
to
I
think,
100.
again, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure, sure. Sorry for interruption, but I mean, 100% agree with you, because this is something that we mentioned multiple time in the podcast here. Like, I need people, I mean, people to learn more about critical thinking, because from my perspective, at least, I see that sharpening your critical thinking and like sharpening your learning techniques, like being able to learn faster, because we would be able in the I believe in the future, as you mentioned, like we will not be coding more, but we would be jumping between a lot of tools, a lot of new concepts, and we need to grasp those concepts very quickly. So for me, it's like critical thinking and the ability to learn faster.
Absolutely. I know. I agree with that entirely because things will change very robustly. I remember one of the things when I was at PayPal, I was hiring engineers for a blockchain research group, which kind of fell under the innovation umbrella. And this was in 2019, 2020. And blockchain technology in so many ways was so new at the time. And it was changing, it was evolving. So one of the things we actually did when we were testing engineers, I can't even remember what language it was. But we basically had them write, we gave them an assignment in an archaic coding language, something that nobody uses anymore. It was like prominent
Okay.
in like the 70s or 80s or something like that.
Okay.
Something that literally no one uses, that's not taught in schools. But the reason why we did that is because if we just say, hey, do you know JavaScript? Do you know whatever it might be, like it in the world, especially in the blockchain world, it might not matter in 6 months. It was
Yeah.
more like, can you learn to think through? Can you take something brand new and be able to kind of apply that in some rudimentary way to be able to solve problems with that? And this applies for more than just engineers here. I mean, like I think probably a lot of your audience is engineers, but if you're learning economics, can you think like an economist? If you're learning math, can you think like a mathematician or a statistician? Like it's the thought process that's going to matter much more, just like how memorization doesn't matter. Memorization used to be a symbol of intelligence back in the day. Was somebody able to memorize the great books or something? Was
Yeah,
like, wow,
yeah.
that's the smartest person in the town because books were limited and not everybody had unlimited access like they have to information like now. So memorization is looked at as a kind of a fad. It's a side sport. There's still memory competitions, but nobody's like, oh, the smartest person in the world is the one who has memorized the most characters. So our perception of intelligence in the world of AI is going to change greatly as well. And I think it's going to continually evolve. But being able to show discipline, be able to think through problems, all that, being able to evaluate quality is a big
Yeah.
factor in AI. I mean, if an AI gives you, if you're a writer and an AI writes something for you, can you actually decipher if it's good versus not good? Those are the kind of skills that are really going to matter.
Yeah, I'd like to mention some stuff you hit here. Like, yes, I agree with you. Like, sometimes I used to write articles on LinkedIn and in multiple places, and like, I used to write my articles as a draft by myself. Like, I write everything, and then I go to AI and they say, okay, correct. I'm not a native speaker, English speaker. So I said, okay, please correct this, like fix punctuation problem, fix whatever. And then I find that AI is like destroying my narrative. You know what I mean? He's structuring stuff and doing stuff, and I have to reinforce it to. I said, okay, please don't remove the human touch. Like don't remove the narrative that I want it like this. Sometimes he completely shorten an entire paragraph because he says that, oh, let's do this like this, because it's like solid, rigid. He only wanted to give the information in the fastest way. I want people to go in the flow. I want them to
Absolutely.
feel what I write. It's
Yeah.
like it's as simple as that. AI is missing this for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say I write with, there's an AI tool. I think it's mostly in the US. It's called Grammarly,
Oh
and
yeah, I know it.
it's a great tool for like helping you write. And I pay like $150 a year for access to this. And all the time, it'll help me with stuff like, hey, you should have commas here. It'll give me suggestions. But a lot of times I'll reject those suggestions because maybe it says like, oh, you're repeating yourself here, here, and here.
Yes.
But sometimes that's my intent. I'm trying to drive home the point by saying this and then like repeating and repeat, like, and that's sometimes the AI is not always going to get that. So totally agree. As a native English speaker, I'm always struggling with AI as well in
Yeah,
that
I
same
mean,
area.
shortening my work, shortening my narrative. I need people to feel it. And also, one of the things that drive me to have this podcast here right now, because I am seeking and I'm looking for human interaction. I cannot imagine the future when I go everywhere and I found robots like giving me stuff. I'm a people-oriented person. I like to interact with people, and I think this is something. If I missed in my life, I would be very, very sad. Because
Yeah.
human interactions is one of the most valuable assets in history, in our life, in our daily life, like interaction, like having you like this, speaking to you and seeing your emotions, your enthusiasm about the topics that we speak. It's way different. I mean, I always say this to people, like what we do here, you can have it on the internet, you can have it by asking ChatGPT. But are you coming here for ChatGPT, or are you coming here for the real interactions? To see people speaking from their motivational point, from their souls, from their true self. Like we can solidify and make everything rigid by having it. On the other side, I like AI for something like, okay, I used to be shy to ask questions, and for me, AI gives us a limitless, how to say that, like power to it can empower you. If
Mhm.
you are someone who is shy to ask in the class, or as in your college, you can go and ask AI whatever you want, and he will never ever judge you, because this is something that I used to suffer in the past. You meet someone and you try to ask, and he don't reply, he does not reply on you, or he say, okay, it's better to do whatever XYZ. So for me, no, I have AI now, and it have every information I need. I can easily access it. And but by the way, I was working as a blockchain developer in 2019. So I was working with Solidity, writing smart
Yeah,
contracts at the same
sure.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was innovating on the other side of the world.
That's great. So literally, yeah, no, I mean, it's super exciting to see all these things and how these things evolve and so forth. That's exactly right. But look, and this is just going to become faster. And to what you're saying about like the human connection is what matters. It is so true. I was watching a video just recently about I can't remember the company. It might have been Sony. It might have been Honda. It was a Japanese company had created a robot that can shoot baskets like basketball, and it could do it from very far distances. And it made some record in some book or something like that. And I will tell you, like, it was interesting to see for like 30 seconds, but then it became boring.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I live in San Francisco Bay Area, where our team, the Golden State Warriors, has a player named Steph Curry, who's kind of known around the world for being one of the greatest basketball shooters ever lived. People will spend $300, $400, $500 to go see him. He's nowhere near as good as that robot, but he's a
Okay.
human. He has a story.
Yes.
He has all this other stuff, and that's what matters. Like nobody's going to pay $300 to go see a robot shoot a basketball. They will easily pay that to see Steph Curry shoot a basketball.
Yeah, and also like, for me, I mean, because you worked as innovator, in in a big company. I mean, innovation, yeah, AI can mix stuff, but at the end of the day, he learned from our previous ideas, the innovations that comes from us as humans. Yeah, I cannot compete an AI in how to say, in doing math calculations very quickly. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like AI learned from what we already learned in the past and what we already invented and what we did. Otherwise, we will not reach this point in history where we have AI. I mean,
Yes.
without all the effort from people who made in the past, and all those brilliant minds that come together and try to mix their ideas. Some of them fail, some of them succeed. How 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 could we have this AI now? And that's why I believe in the future. Yes, AI will do a lot of the stuff that we do right now today, but there will still a place for us. Capitalism is something bad, and I know that people will try to automate everything to make more profits. But on the other end, I believe that there will be a place for us, and this thing cannot go. How to say that? Cannot evolve without us, like
Yeah.
driving it.
Yeah. I mean, look, if there's no people who have money to buy stuff, then capitalism is broken. I mean, so yes,
Yeah.
if we keep moving in the direction, like if it is truly just companies doing stuff and nobody has a job, nobody has income, nobody has whatever, then the system breaks. There will be a way. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't going to be messy over the next few years. I mean, this is a big shift in our economies and in our societies that we're going to see. There's going to be resistance. There has been resistance, but I always think, there's a lot of change is hard. No matter who you are, like change is difficult. Change is not something that we as a species had dealt with much for a couple 100,000 years. And we were not evolved to accept change. Change happened very slowly. And in the last couple 100 years of the Industrial Revolution, it has
Yes.
gotten to the point where, and I think Neil deGrasse Tyson actually has a book that's writing about this, and how, like, if you looked at the world in 30-year increments and dropped somebody from this, from 30 years ago, so from 1995, just drop them into the world of 2025 today, it's going to look completely different to them. And they're going to be like, I mean, they'll still comprehend some things, but it's going to be a vastly different world. Uh,
Yes.
2055 is going to look really different than today, too. Even more different than 1995 looked. And the change and the pace of change keeps accelerating. And the one thing I tell people, and for everybody who's out there, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to understand these tools, to use these tools, to look at like how you can use AI to help you in your work, in your personal life, whatever it might be. Like there's so much that these tools can do already. The more that you understand them, the more you're going to be ready for this future.
I also believe that we were lucky. We are lucky that we were like in this point in history. I mean, we
Yeah.
were before we were here before this, how to say, internet revolution, and before like social media apps, and before a lot of stuff. We actually were in this point of time before all that, and then we moved with everything into this point in history. So like my daughter will grow up in the future, she will not realize like, okay, we have like, let's say, flying car, flying whatever, but she will not know. She will not realize this point. And I remember one of the people I know, like he said that he was dreaming about the future, dreaming about like robots and cars, but once it become reality, he's very sad. You know why? Because he said that like some stuff are very beautiful when they are dreams, but when you see them in real life, you say, no, I don't want that. I want my normal life. I want to go around the trees. I want to see people moving in the streets. I want to have the normal interaction with people in restaurants. It's truly amazing. I mean, this for me, this is life. I want to live my present. I don't care about the future right now. The future will change whatever I do, but
Yep.
I live my present. I live my present with my daughter, with my wife. I live my present with my friends. And I'm not saying that I wasn't worried. I'm not worried about the future. No, but I was very worried about the future in the past. That it ate my present, it completely destroyed my present. So right now I'm not thinking about this anymore. I'm only focusing on what is in my control, and I do it, and that's it. The future, let the future be the future, I don't care.
Was that like that's great philosophy? And like, if people take away nothing I said in this, they should listen to what you said over the last minutes. Live in the present, people. Life is so much more fulfilling. So much when you're not just thinking about what you're going to do later, what you're going to do with this. Just like live in the present moment. Enjoy the people that are around you. Like that. That's the life to live.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about, maybe I'm shifting about the main topic, but I mean, sometimes you see, like, I think about people who lived in the past, like, who lived from 1,000 years, from 500 years, from whatever. And I mean, if those people thought about the future as it is today, they will not live a single second in their a single moment in their like era, or in their history, because like life change, and we keep trying to catch it. But the more you are trying to catch it, the more you are burning yourself with flames and with fire, because you will not be able to keep up with it. And that's the beauty of getting some, losing some. I believe
Yeah.
this is a balance in my life. Like, I decided in the past I was trying to catch everything, but right now I am deciding what to lose and what to gain. I can lose a huge opportunity in one company in US because I want to live in Spain. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
want a future, and this is something I decided actually. Like, I decided to live here in Spain, though I have a lot more money in US, a lot more money in other countries. A lot more opportunities in other places. But I decided to lose these opportunities because I want my daughter to live here, because I like the place, and I think it's a very good environment in Spain for her to live. That's how I think about it right now. I don't need money. I need only life. And life, I don't think that I will get like life with money. I went to Vegas, I went to New York, I went to Seattle, but I mean, US is beautiful, but the only thing that I didn't like about US is like life is very fast. People are running everywhere. No, I mean, no time to enjoy your coffee. You have to have your mug in your hand and you go in the street. And this is something, a pattern that I found it everywhere. I don't want to live like this. Actually, I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, I
No,
mean,
no.
it's it's
No,
it, it's
I mean, and look, I've lived in the U.S. my entire life, and that
yeah,
is a part of American culture, and part that, frankly, I opt out of in many ways,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
exactly.
because, but it is harder when everyone is saying go, 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 and you have that. So, like, I totally get that.
Yeah, it's like the depth of being, how to say, leading the industry in everything. This is the cost of leading everything, actually.
Yes.
And I know, and I decided not. Okay, I don't want it. I mean,
Yeah.
I wrote an article about how chasing your dreams like can kill you sometimes. And I
Yeah.
mean, I give an example of scientists. Like, scientists, if you are, I mean, if you are ready to pay for that thing, okay, go pursue it. But if you don't know uh, uh, the cost of doing that, please don't go this way. Because I mean, sometimes you find like a scientist who is trying his whole life to prove an idea. And for proving this, he pay everything. He pay his entire life. And before he die, yeah, sure. Before he died, like, he realized that he invested his life in something that, like, what was wrong, in the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only
Absolutely.
like that. So
Absolutely. And um, look, I think. I mean, here's the reality: money,
yeah,
all these kind of things. Like when you're dead, it's all gone. like
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Any of this stuff. I just enjoy the life that you want to live. I always do the mental exercise of like, if I looked back on my life from my deathbed, what is it that I wish that I would have done? And
yeah,
like it's a mental exercise. Like we're just starting a new year. People should be doing that, like looking back or anything like that, and just do that mental exercise, and that will help you lead you to, well, maybe I should live in Spain, maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I should not do that. Help you
yeah,
understand that so much better.
yeah. One last question, and we can wrap
Please.
wrap this up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, any resources that you would recommend for people, like a book that you see that, okay, you need to. This is a must read. If you want to be innovative, if you want to ignite your innovation, creativity, anything you can say.
I would actually say innovative book. I think Creative Calling by Chase Jarvis is actually a really
Okay.
good one. In some
Nice.
ways, it's been a few years since I've read it, but I remember reading it and I'm like, oh God, this is the book that I would have written if
Nice.
I had the time, talents, whatever you like, that was one of those things. So, Creative Calling by Chase Jarvis is probably a great place that I would start if you want to learn more about like innovation, creativity, and have some really practical tips and thoughts from it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mike, for being with us today. I really,
Yeah,
really
this is
enjoyed this
super
talk.
fun. Love to come back anytime.
Sure.
I think this was like really great discussion we had.
We will have you for a lot more sessions in the future, and I'm really, really glad to have this session with you. Thank you so much again, and I hope to see you again in the future. Thanks for all the people who are watching this, and see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thanks.